Good afternoon. Unconditional Love 8. Why did Rome do their best to massacre, annihilate, exterminate, terminate the Cathars? In fact, the church hunted them down to every last person. Even when they reformed in the Pyrenees, in small pockets, north of Italy, Montefiore, even as far as reforming in the Sahara, out beyond the pyramids, a very remote secret. Even there they were hunted down and annihilated until every last Cathar was dealt with. It ceased to exist. Why? Well, there are a number of reasons, and essentially it boils down to this, and which they used to, the Cathars used to point out, because in those days, of course, the Cathars in Languedoc spoke Languedoc, Occitan, but Latin was also the language of the church, and in Latin you had amor, versus Roma. One is the opposite of the other. In other words, amor, being love, is the opposite to Roma, which is the epitome of power. Rome ruled. Rome often ruled the world, or the Western world. So essentially, that was what it was about. Rome became more and more powerful, certainly under Innocent III, who started the crusade, the Albigensian crusade against the Cathars. He was one of the greatest generals in history. He never lost a battle. And we often see Pope Pius, and he's there portrayed as well, he's regarded as the greatest of the popes. He certainly was a hard worker, and he brought in a tremendous amount of legislation. And he also, with the Vatican States, united them from one ocean to the other, right across the breadth of Italy. Even just before he died, when someone was against Rome, he said, "Unsheath your sword from a scabbard and plunge that sword deep into the belly of the heretic or unbeliever," or whatever. So he was, he wasn't a big man, but he was a very, very good general. And so this was the power of Rome. And the Cathars were basically about love. But also the other thing was, the Cathars used to make fun of the church, used to make fun of Rome. They called Rome the whore. The reason being is that in those days, if you wanted to go to heaven, or your uncle had died, or someone had died, and you could pay, you could pay for an indulgence, and you got a signed receipt to say that that person's sins were absolved, and that person's going to go straight to heaven. Even if you committed murder, you have to pay more for murder. If you, whatever it happened to be that you did, you could absolve that with a paid, by paying. And of course this later, with Martin Luther, that commenced the Reformation. So this is why Rome was termed a whore, because she sold herself. She sold heaven, or the passage to heaven. First class, second class, third class, I'm not too sure, but nonetheless it was a surefire passage to heaven. A little bit more would be first class, I'm sure. But this was the, and what else? Yes, the other factor was that the Cathars had no time for baptism, the sacraments, baptism and marriage. Because marriage was just the joining of two people. It wasn't love didn't come into it. They may have fallen in love later. Sometimes they may even love each other beforehand, but that wasn't a condition. It was just the fact that it was done for security, for an alliance or whatever, both from the lowly and to the very highest. Nation had marriage between nations, between sovereigns. The other, baptism. Well, the Cathars simply said, you cannot have an effect before the cause. I can't have the pain until I'm slapped. You can't have the effect, the pain, before there's being slapped. And so with baptism, with the church, everyone's born a sinner. This little baby can't even spell sin. Hasn't got a clue what sin is about, and yet is born a sinner. So the Cathars laughed at this, and they said, "This is ridiculous, and you can't have an effect before the cause. You need to commit the crime before someone pursues you. In every case, but somehow or other, the church managed to say that no, we're all born sinners, and yet it's for something that you haven't committed a sin. No one's committed a sin, and yet you're born a sinner." So when I remember one story, this monk or priest was trying to convert a Red Indian, and he said, Christ died on the cross for you. And the Red Indian said, well, look, I don't even know Christ. He said, and I certainly don't want anyone dying for me, dying on a cross, and I certainly don't want someone I don't even know dying for me. He said, no, I said, not interested. So these were things that the Cathars had a joke at the church's expense, and the church wasn't very happy about this. Another in-joke of the Cathars was, the Cathars used to say amongst themselves, the local, that you cannot sin from the waist down. Now, where this came from was the fact that the Cathars said that the body is innocent. The body is always innocent. If there is a culprit, it's the mind, but the body is innocent. All natural things can't be a sin. Eating, toilet, sex, all these things are natural and of themselves, nothing wrong with them. Of course, if you're lying or cheating or deceiving someone in order to have sex or something, of course, that's wrong. But making love of itself, there's nothing wrong with the body. The body is always innocent. So, the combination of this was that Catharism was literally taking over. The people liked it. They liked what they heard. They liked the arguments that the Cathars put forward to it. And he was Pope Innocent, who said 80% of his clergy, his monks and priests, are either Cathars or sympathetic to Catharism. So he had to do something about it. And otherwise the church was going to disappear. And this is the reason why the Cathars were literally annihilated, down and massacred, terminated to the very last person. But of course, here am I today, talking about Catharism. So one cannot kill an idea that has arrived. Bye for now. Talk to you again soon.